Aloha, my name is Anderson, and welcome to the 40th Annual Hawaii International Film Festival presented by Halekulani, and our discussion with director Jason Lau for the film Story Game. And we'd like to extend our thanks to Film Hawaii, the Nichols Family Film Fund, and Hawaiian Airlines for sponsoring the Made in Hawaii section. So before we start the Q&A, so some quick housekeeping bits. For program updates, go to our website at HIFF.org for the full schedule of films, events, HIFF's talk story sessions, and Q&As. And then for any latest developments or updates to the program, go to HIFF.org. Also, go to our Audience Award for Audience Award voting to participate in our Hawaii News Now Audience Award voting. Please head to hawaiinewsnow.com/HIFF to cast your vote for your favorite narrative, documentary, and short film. Mahalo to Hawaii News Now for their support. So without further ado, hey Jason, thank you for joining us for this Q&A.
Oh, thank you, Anderson. I'm happy to be here, and thank you, HIFF, and all the sponsors for making this happen, and especially in this very challenging time to be able to show movies. So
yeah, Jason. So I mean, we've shown your films at HIFF for several years now, and maybe some quick backstory. With you, you're the founder, and I would assume the CEO of Talk Story Productions, right? And but you came from a finance banking background, right? And then kind of segued into basic production, film production. One of the films that you were a producer of, the Tempest. There was shot in Hawaii, on Molokai, I believe, or Lanai.
Lanai. We were in Lanai.
Lanai, sorry. And that was like our big centerpiece film, directed by Julie Taymor, So that was kind of, so you've done a lot of these big Hollywood productions to also locally independent films. You did, part of this anthology project called the Short List, which is kind of like, an anthology of short stories shot in Hawaii with a group of other local filmmakers. So in a way, kind of Story Game is kind of like, kind of not an extension per se, but maybe kind of the next stage of your evolution when it comes to others, like anthologies type stories. So kind of like can you maybe just briefly talk about your background, how you came from one sector and now into filmmaking?
Sure. Yeah, I came out from the finance background. So I was in banking, I was in Wall Street, I did a bunch of things that way. And we started to, at the time, look at financing film. And it was intriguing to me. As a UCLA graduate, I had many classmates who went into filmmaking, and I always thought that was a great thing to do, but I just didn't think I could do it. And then when we started financing film, I remembered that my love for film. And we said, okay, let's finance film. And then we became, well, why don't we start a production company? We can do this. And then we started a production company where we were financing film. And then we started doing writing and more developing projects. So that's how that all kind of evolved. And I ended up grabbing a bunch of my classmates. John Ching is my classmate, and he and I partnered and put this together. And we did things like the Short List, where we got completely 100% Hawaii production. In other words, we took different directors, everybody, talent from Hawaii, and coalesced them all together to make these short things. And it is sort of a dry run for what became Story Game, because we are story oriented. Story Game, Talk Story is the name of our company, and so we're very story oriented. So we're all about telling story, and so it became the Short List became sort of maybe a precursor to eventually Story Game, which we decided to shoot in Japan. And that's a whole another story, and I'm happy to tell that story too, by the way. Okay, so we were doing Terrace House on Netflix, and you're familiar with that thing. So
I'm a big fan. So you produced the Aloha State. That's
season, correct. Right? Yeah. Right. So Netflix called and said, "Hey, can you help us with this thing? We love to shoot the season in Hawaii." And we started to meet more and more people out of Japan, because we were doing another film called Hanalei Bay, which also was a HIFF show too. So we produced these things with Japan producers, and they asked me, "Hey, what else are you doing?" And I said, "Well, I've always loved Japanese kind of ghosts. Not necessarily horror, because when you say horror, people think about bloody horror, but more obake, ghost stories, supernatural stories. And I said, I'd love to do that and somehow tie it into Hawaii. And they said, oh, we love that idea. And they started sending me stories from Japan. And I said, okay, I picked 3 of them. And I said, let's shoot these in Japan and tie in something for Hawaii. And that was the birth of Story Game. That's how it all started. Yeah, that's it. You know?
Yeah, I mean, like, we briefly before our Q&A, we kind of talked about kind of this legacy or tradition when it comes to these kind of omnibus or anthology horror films or TV series, like even from Tales from the Crypt, Creep Show, Twilight Zone,
right.
Yeah, exactly. Outer Limits,
right.
So yeah, it's dealing with
Hitchcock Presents, all those.
Hitchcock Presents, all that stuff. Yeah. So I mean, with Story Game, it starts off with basically 3 college friends on a camping trip, and what more? I mean, that's like that's as simple as you can get when you go like, oh, let's tell scary stories around a campfire, right? So that's like, yeah, that's so right. I mean, but I liked it, like how you kind of incorporated making it into using an app basically, and kind of bringing it into the I guess to the 21st century, so to speak. So it's kind of marrying the old school and kind of like current times when it comes to the app and stuff like that. Right. So okay, so that's the thread that's the anchor, because the storytellers are in Hawaii telling their stories, but they're actually stories that take place in Japan or whatever, right? So that was the kind of concept. So so you chose the stories that you want to tell, and you made that connective tissue with having that kind of base of I would say the campfire as kind of like the
storytellers, the storytellers, right? The bet. It's really the bet.
Exactly.
Who can tell the scariest story? It's a bet right. There.
That's right. So can you talk about like what was what drew you to? I mean, you basically said that you're a big fan of kind of these obake type of stories and stuff like that, and especially in Japan, also in Hawaii, which is inspired. I mean, a lot of it's influenced by Asian or Japanese kind of these type of obake or ghost stories. So why did you choose these 3, and then what was the kind of like I would say the production process of shooting the stuff in Hawaii and then shooting the stuff in Japan?
Okay. Well, I'll start the last part first, which is what was it like to shoot in Hawaii and in Japan? That was a challenge. I mean, we're talking about 2 different countries. Plus, it was a little more complicated than I really thought of initially. I thought, okay, we can just do short stories and that'll be it. But you're talking about getting a whole nother set of actors, whole new set of locations. Basically, you're shooting 4 relatively short movies and putting them together. Yeah. So the crew, you had 2 different crews, one in Japan, one in Hawaii. So you had 2 different crews. So there's all the huge logistics that had to go on to make that happen. And fortunately, the producers, the Hawaii producers and the Japanese producers, they just we really worked well together, and that's what made it all work well. And the casting had to be clean. It had to be, let's just say clean. The hardest part is getting really good Japanese actors who could also speak English well, right? Because we were going to shoot this in English. So casting was critical for us in getting good actors and who could speak English well. So that was a little bit of a challenge. So we spent a lot of time with that and locations in Japan. But that all came together nicely, And what was the first part? Your first question was?
Oh, what was the so you chose the 3 stories that you
right.
Why did you choose these particular ones versus the other?
Yeah. Okay, so I knew I wanted to do 3 stories, and kind of do it 3 different. They had to all feel different. They had to be very, so there's a time period. I did one that was more of a period piece, right? The Edo period. Right? So I thought, and I had gone to the Kyoto filmmakers lab.
Yeah.
I think you recommended me. I think you recommended me to go there, right?
Egamura. The old adult village, the old Edo
Yes.
Village set and all that stuff. Yes. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
You did that. Awesome. Yeah,
I
yeah.
did that. I did that. You did that too? Okay, yeah.
I was a mentor. I was a speaker.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah.
So you learned. So I went. So I think I asked you about it. I said, hey, I'm thinking about doing this thing, and he said, hey, you should do it. So I signed up and I went. They show you how to do the jirageki, the samurai thing.
Yeah.
And then I said, I am going to do one of these someday. And I actually went back to that studio, and we ended up using equipment and everything. And that's why I did that. I said, I want to do this Edo period thing out of this Kyoto Filmmakers Lab. Yeah. So that's why I decided to do that one piece. That's why I chose that one, and everybody loved that story. So,
just quickly, if anyone doesn't know what the Kyoto Filmmakers Lab is, basically it's at the Toei Kyoto Studios in Kyoto, and it's basically their old studio, but they also have this whole backlot of just old Edo period samurai villages, you know, and I mean, all the old shows you used to watch on Kiku and everything was samurai,
and all that.
Everything was shot there. It's like So anyway, go ahead.
So that.
So you did that, and you're like, I gotta shoot something here. I gotta shoot something here. Yeah.
Yeah, I told them. In fact, I told them when I left. I said, I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna come back and do something. And I'm sure everybody tells them that. They look at you like, okay, well, someday maybe, right? Well, whatever, right? And then I came back. They're like, hey, you came back. Like, let's do it. I'm ready to shoot this thing here. They're like, okay, let's do it. So they were very supportive. They were very supportive. Helped with a lot of the costumes, everything, to get the Edo period to look as authentic as possible. And they were kind of, to be honest, they're like, okay, you're going to do this in Japanese. And I said, no, I'm going to do it in English. And they're like, oh, that's a little different. That was a little bit like, okay, you're doing it in English and you're doing Japanese, which is not something they normally see. And they got kind of excited about it, like, oh, well, we really want to see how this comes out. Yeah. And I think we did, a good job on it.
So basically, you were working essentially, because you shot the stuff in Hawaii and then you shot the stuff in Japan. So you're working on essentially two different crews, right? So was there any culture clashes when it comes to, work styles or what have you when it comes to, I'm sure you're very familiar with the crew in Hawaii, because that's what you do. But like you just said, working with these, especially in Kyoto with these, they're not only, just the, crew there, but they're also experts in the Shiraigeki or that type of genre and stuff like that, history and all that stuff. So maybe talk about kind of like any things that you had to pivot around or you were embraced when it comes to working with the Japanese crew.
Yeah, so working with the Japanese crew, normally if you get a good line producer or producer to help you on that's the key to me. And strangely enough, when I was down in Kobe, which is where we shot a lot of the stuff, the Mako, who is the film commissioner there, was a UCLA graduate. So when I connected with her, she was like, "Oh, you're another UCLA graduate. Let's get together. We'd love to support you and get this done." So they were hugely supportive. But the number one thing about shooting in Japan or any other country, in my mind, is always a language barrier. Because as a director, you got to communicate things across. So you had to have people who could speak English too, they're bilingual, or you had to have translators because you had to. A lot of these guys had worked on Kill Bill, and they were like, and there was like Chinese, Japanese, and English, and so they had all these translations. So they were used to like making sure the information got out correctly to the crew, the casting crew, and that's the number one thing, just communication, how we're doing it. But I took my DP with me. Andy Sawa shot this thing. She's local, so Anne was there. So she and I were just connected, and so that was the big deal. And then I found a really great AD and assistant director who was my right-hand man, who could translate. He was a Berkeley graduate. He's a U.S. citizen, but now kind of living abroad, and super smart. And he just was able to get a lot of my stuff done that I needed to get done and translate to the rest of the crew. So that was it. It was a lot easier once you put all the pieces together that can support yourself around you. That's the critical thing. You shot abroad, Anderson, and that's what you need to do to make it work.
Oh yeah, 100%. Communication is key. So in the Japan part, you primarily shot in Kyoto for that third story, right?
The main places we actually shot in Tokyo, Kobe, and a little bit in Kyoto. So
Yeah.
So, our main shots were mostly in Kobe though, mostly in Kobe and Tokyo, and then we ended up just pulling all that stuff from Kyoto.
And you shot in Kobe because of your the relationship with the film commissioner there, and like
Right.
Yeah.
The locations that she was able to come up with were just incredible, and they were so accommodating. In fact, there's a train sequence we have in there, right? Originally I wrote this for the Shinkansen, the bullet train. Right? I wanted to be on the bullet train, and they were supposed to be she's supposed to attack this person on the bullet train. And at first they were like, okay, great, yeah, we love to. You can shoot on the bullet train. And I told them, okay, I'm going to have this person being attacked in the train, and they were like, no, I don't think we can allow you to have somebody attacked on the train, even though it's it's fiction. It's So it became this more political thing. And Kobe, where they were like, we can get you on the train. We'll put you on a train. We'll put you on a commuter train. And they were like, and how many extras do you need? I said, we need to fill the station with a bunch of people because it's got to feel crowded. He says, we'll get them all. So all those people you see in the train stations are all our people. We had like 500 extras that Kobe just provided for us.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah, we just had to feed them lunch, and that was it.
A bento box, and then it's good.
Yeah, it's a bento box. They're happy to be there, and they're just great. They show up on time, and they put them where we need to be in, and we just have them bump. Jason Quinn is in that sequence. Right. You're just bumping him, and it feels like it's. I traveled so much in Tokyo that I wanted to make it feel authentic. That crowdedness, the amount of people that you're meeting in these train stations. That's exactly how it felt, and yet it's just. We filled it all with our own people.
What about the location that it was like it's a dead end in an abandoned subway or a tunnel or something?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. What was that? Was that a set or?
No. Those are all practical locations. So Kobe, again, the Kobe guys, I said, I want to feel like we're going down to some place because they're supposed to be down the train tunnel. I know we can't see the train tunnel. But what can you guys provide? He goes, I have the perfect tunnel that's abandoned. You can use that. I said, oh, I got to see this. And it was a mining tunnel. It was a tunnel they used when they dug this tunnel for the freeway to go to the mountain, and it was used to remove the debris. So they built this tunnel just for access way, and it wasn't being used at all. And they said, you can use this one. And we went down to it, and it was a fantastic tunnel. We shot there. And then I said, I need some connective tissue there. And they said, hey, how about this trash facility? And I was like, oh my God, a trash facility. It's going to be kind of uncomfortable for us to shoot this smelly trash, rubbish facility, right? And I was like, oh, I'm not sure about that. But so he goes, Jason, you got to look at this thing. So I looked at it, and it was the cleanest trash facility I've ever seen. I was like, Jason, it's
Japan trash. It's really clean.
It is so. It was like so. It wasn't. There was no smell. We were so perfect. We had to add like smoke in there because there was nothing. It was so clean and so nice. I was like, oh, this is perfect. Let's just shoot here. And so we connected all those things together to make it feel seamless. That it was all in one place. But really, he goes to this door, and we built the little wooden box, and he just goes in this wooden box, and he goes onto the stairway, which is this trash facility. Several miles away, and then this tunnel, which is like several miles away again, and connected it all. Yeah, that was my homage to kind of Hitchcock in a way, to just do this kind of long, following this guy through this journey. Very little dialogue, just getting him, following along. From the park and everything. Yeah,
very cool. So for the I guess the international school, the high school sequence.
Oh yeah.
So was that also shot at a high school or?
Yes, it was the most fantastic high school I've ever seen. It had the gym. They had their own kendo thing. That's all in their own place. They have this whole kendo facility. They have the whole archery thing there. They have Japanese archery, which is very interesting. Yeah. It was the nicest high school I've ever seen. And I you know what high school I went to.
I went.
And I was like, hey, this high school is something else, man. This is really nice. Yeah. And again, Kobe found it all for us. I cannot thank Kobe enough for helping us find these locations.
So Jason, obviously, an actor based in Hawaii and stuff like that. Was he the only actor you import over to Japan for, or was it? And then was everyone else all local hires? All the other Japanese, all the
Yeah.
other actors for the Japanese sequences.
Right. Yeah, everybody. So Quinn was the one we brought in for this main story, and you've seen a lot of my things, and Quinn shows up a lot in my films because as a local actor, he's just fantastic. So he had never shot anything outside of the U.S. I said, "Hey, Quinn, you want to come with me and go to Japan?" And he was just like, "Absolutely." He didn't even care what the story was at that point. He was just like, "Yeah, let's go do this." And he had a grand time. I took him up there for early, so we could get him acquiesced because he had to learn all his Japanese phonetically.
Yeah.
He didn't really know any Japanese. He had to just learn it phonetically because he had to feel like he really fit there. He was a good businessman there. Yeah, that's so. Yeah,
like an expert salary man. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. He had to feel like an expat.
So, quickly, question: how about the Hawaii sequences? Where did you shoot? I mean, was that Bellows Beach or something, or what was that? Where was the?
Right. That was at Chinaman's Hat. Right. So we shot the beach over there by Kulo over there. Yeah. So and then we were on Kulo Ranch. What was the ending sequences out there. So it's Kulo Ranch, that whole area right there. So we shot that. I mean, it felt originally the concept was that they're supposed to be like on the Big Island. It should feel like the Big Island is what I was trying to go for. And I originally wrote it to be on the Big Island, but it's just too much to try and get everybody there. And so we shot it here, and we can make it feel like an outer island experience. That's what it should feel like. It wasn't supposed to be Waikiki. It's got to feel like an outer island experience, and that's pretty desolate. Yeah, so that part was challenging for the crew and everybody because, as you notice, it's a lot of night sequences, a lot of night shots.
Yeah.
So that's always challenging to do a lot of night stuff because it gets late and everything. And it's just a challenge. But the crew was great.
Yeah, you're outside. You have to bring your own power in and all that stuff.
That's right. Yeah, we got to bring all our lighting.
The crew definitely.
Yeah, the lighting is the crucial thing, right? That's the hardest part. You're always lighting on things. We had these big condors and everything come in, light up the whole area. Yeah, that's always a challenge. Usually, and I picked the location. I've shot next to the beach, next to the ocean. It's always challenging with the sound, because of the waves and everything. It's always this issue, right? Sound guy always goes crazy when I do that. So I knew that I needed to be just off the beach, but be able to see the ocean and not mess with the sound, and we could light it up. And that's why we chose that. So it's great. That Kulo Beach Park, those guys were great. Yeah. Super great. Valea,
that's awesome.
Got that all for us. It was great.
Valea is the Honolulu Film Commissioner, Valea Constantino.
Yes. Super supportive on everything we've done. And
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so so actually one question I thought was really, something really clever you did was at the end with the unreliable narrator. Scenario. So, can you tell? Yeah. So that was the when it really kind of pivoted to more of a Twilight Zone type of.
Right.
Just talk about that kind of that cool what if in a way that you kind of that kind of ends the film.
Yeah. So Ned Van Zandt plays the caretaker, right? And he's I've shot him before too, and he's just got this. He's the nicest guy. But he can play this kind of creepiness.
Yeah, he can be very avuncular, or then he can be very creepy too, which is really
right. He can be this whole stage actor, but then if you ask him to be this creepiness thing, he just kind of gets it, and he just looks into the camera and does that. So I knew that I wanted him to do this and make this whole caretaker go, okay, this is kind of your story here, and you're going to draw everybody in, and then we're just going to do this twist at the end. Now, am I going to ruin it if I tell people what's happening here, or are they ready?
This is the Q&A that they would watch after the film.
Oh, okay. Right? So they've already seen it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, for him to suddenly go, so as a filmmaker, we've always been taught, show, don't tell, right? So this is my way of doing that, showing that this is storytellers. This is one of the rules that we've kind of followed. Always show the story. It's much better than to actually tell the story. So for him to actually show it, is what he's doing. And then you realize it's a story. And that's what makes storytelling so powerful. Show, don't tell. That's what that's supposed to be.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. And the fact that, I mean, and I thought that was really clever. It was kind of a nice little twist.
Thank you.
Especially when it comes to, I mean, this is not, I mean, there's connective tissue in all of the stories that are being told, right? Because it's like,
right.
Yeah, exactly. Because they're kind of it's the bet. They're kind of one-upping each other, and who can who has the scariest story, right? So,
right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm hoping people appreciate that part too, the interstitial thing with the campfire, where they actually, and I borrowed that from the Japanese, where they actually, if you watch Japanese shows, they'll like Terrace House, and they'll often have the episode, then they have this little panel, they have this little discussion about it.
Yeah.
It's very popular in Japan. That's the way they do all their variety shows. So I thought, and it seemed to work. So I said, I borrowed that and said, look, we're going to tell a story, then we're going to sit on the campfire, then we're going to kind of talk about the story and digest it, but in a way that's still in the story, still in the movie, right? Where they go poke holes at these other stories and all that. That's it. And that's kind of, I know you do it too. We watch a movie, we all sit around afterwards and go, hey, what that story was kind of, we talk about it. And that's the feeling I was trying to capture around the campfire there as they poke holes and talk about what works in that story and what doesn't. So
sure. I mean, what is your? I mean, hopefully, I think for every filmmaker, the film that they work on or the IP they work on can have a life of its own, or beyond the story game, the movie. I see. Do you see this becoming like a potential IP that could be spun off into not only movies or a TV series, but maybe comic books or whatever? So.
Well, there's already talk about actually having the real app, the real story game app.
Oh, cool. Oh, okay, excellent.
That they're going to do. And they're going to tie it to a limited series.
Oh,
so
very cool.
A limited series where we would actually jump from country to country and tell their indigenous stories from their supernatural stories. So they asked me to write up a little thing about which countries I'd like to do. And with the COVID, I chose all the countries that were doing really well, like
Taiwan, New Zealand.
I said, hey, New Zealand's doing really well. Why don't we shoot down there? They got the Maori stories and everything. They're like, oh, that sounds great. Yeah. And so there's this idea of doing this this app where we're actually going to have people tell their own stories in it, sort of TikTok-ish.
Yeah.
And then we choose one of those stories to be the finale. So that's
very cool.
So then we're trying to tie that on. But it'd be interesting to do this limited series. So, I mean, it's still only in the talking phase, but that's a thing. That's coming along. I think we just want to get through the COVID first. Let's get through COVID first. But yeah, a limited series would be fun to do and collect stories from different countries. I mean, South Korea is going to be one of them we're looking at doing.
Absolutely.
Because we do a lot of things with them. And truly, and the UK, because they got great ghost stories there.
Absolutely.
So anyway, that's what's happening, what we'd love to do. So these 3 campers would actually go from country to country.
Oh, it's a great idea. Great idea.
Thank you.
So, we look forward to future story games in whatever format it's going to be or whatever platform it's going to be. So thank you again, Jason, for joining us for this Q&A for Story Game. If you have any final words, to the audience, that'd be great. Yeah.
Well, thanks, Anderson. Thanks, HIFF and everybody else for bringing Story Game to the Hawaii audience, our hometown, which I totally am enthralled that this is happening. But I just hope people enjoy the movie. Just enjoy your time. Have a good time with it. Forget about any of the issues that are around you because there's so many things circling around us. As we were talking earlier, we turn off the news for a little bit and just escape for a little while. And that's what this movie's about. It's really just about escapism, enjoying a good story. And for that 90 minutes or so, 100 minutes, just enjoy and escape for a little bit from all the things that are going, this chaotic world we're living in right now.
Yeah, here. How do people get updates regarding the the project? Is there like an Instagram or website yet?
There is. And don't ask me how to get it because I have someone else handling that. But we're up on all the platforms somewhere. Plus, you can always look at talkstory.com, our website too that has it.
Right.
But all the other things that we're Facebook, everything else. And as we get more and more, we're having the grand opening. We're going to do this opening in Japan. So Japan is all set up. As soon as we can get out to theaters, we'll be out in theaters in Japan after this. So
that's great. Well, congratulations, Jason, and we look forward to your future work as well.
All right, nice. It's good seeing you. Good seeing you, man.
So before we end the Q&A, I just want to thank this. Obviously, thank you, Jason, for joining us, and also special mahalo to our HIFF sponsors, board of directors, HIFF HANA members, our audiences, and of course our volunteers. And thank you very much for joining us for this Q&A story game, and we'll see you at the next film. Mahalo.